Hello, SolarLune here, and here's another Gearend development log video. I've made quite a bit of progress since the last time I made a devlog video, and so here's the list, I guess you could say, of changes so far. The first thing is that I now have sound. I've started to implement some sound into the game. Also that little smoke puff when you land. So I still have a lot of sound that needs to be created. As you can see, the enemy up top is shooting, but there's no sound. Not every sound of the players has been implemented, but I still have started at least on adding sound, which is good. You'll probably recognize, yeah, that sound. It sounds pretty good, pretty reliable. I made different shot sounds, but they were horrible compared to that original sound, so I just copied it because I still had the old version from the original Gearend. So I just thought, well, let's go ahead and use it. It worked well then. It'll work well now. So I have a list that shows basically all of the things I changed. So I'm going to step through it a little bit, one at a time. I changed which arm is which. It used to be that the right arm was the arm that is on the right side of the character of Epsilon. Now the right arm is the actual right arm of Epsilon. So the right arm is the one that has the gun right now. Left arm is the one that has the shield right now. I'm playing this like a SNES controller. Y is basically X on an Xbox 360 layout. That's to use the right arm, and A or B on the Xbox 360 layout is to use the left arm. So works pretty well. Kind of makes sense that right arm would be your kind of main arm, and the other button would be for the offhand arm. Maybe I'll make it so it's accurate. I don't know. Okay, so what else? Let's see. The hub zone has been darkened. You'll probably notice that's because I started work on another zone, another area in the game, and it's outside. Basically, it's simulated daytime, so it's bright. So since this is supposed to be nighttime, it makes sense for this to be kind of dark. The player has a light that follows him around, and of course, oops, it shows up. Everything looks good. Dang, I left that profiler on in the top left corner of the screen. Oh well, whatever. It's fine. You can see everything through it. I have a new core part, which is this piece. I added a scarf that reacts to the player's movements. It's still wonky. I don't know if I'll get around to fixing it because it's just not really that big of a deal. Works pretty well still. You know, it's not perfect, but it still gives the feeling of a scarf blowing in the wind. So that's good. This scarf, it was actually modeled. I created the math to have the scarf, move around and wave and stuff in the BGE. This was a part of the BGE helper module, I believe. I just ported it over to Java so I could use it with BDX. Let's see. The next thing is I made blocking more reliable. It used to be where it was like if an attack touched the block, it would die off, but that didn't really work for melee attacks, and that sometimes shots would go through. Now I made it so that basically the damage is straight up nullified if you're blocking at the same time that an enemy attacks, and the attack is from the same side as the block. So it's very easy to block, which makes sense. Oh yeah, I added elevators, which you saw back there. They mechanically work pretty much how you would expect them to. They're kind of like Metroid, how they move up and down. I think in the original Metroid, like they would go into this little recess, like when going up to kind of signal it that it's time to. You'll see it here. This thing where basically it stops the elevator from going up too far. I just did that just because I didn't want to program anything else to get it to work. So this is just a little stopgap solution, so to speak. This elevator doesn't go anywhere currently. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually keep this in the game because there's not a huge reason to have it. I made this like little corridor and I might use it, but there's not really. I don't really have anything there right now, and I don't know if I'm going to have anything there. So. I might not have anything. It's getting all dark. Screen's getting dark. Oh yeah, so this used to be kind of like a Figgly area where you had a lot of it was like you had to kind of, it was just kind of hard to climb up and down. So I just figured that, you know, what better place to put an elevator than here, because it's actually kind of difficult to get around otherwise. So that makes sense. It feels pretty good. The game's actually shaping up pretty well. It feels really much like a really consistent open world. I actually don't know if I showed this much. I might have, I guess I didn't have this in the last video. So I extended the game world, this is the hub zone, over to the right a lot. So you have this kind of outdoor ruined area. Ow. Well, anyway. And you'll head up the stairs and go inside to the right. Before we go there, I'm going to go out here and jump up this pathway. And this basically is a kind of an example of using using the hidden parts. I'm sorry, using your special parts to get something. So you would basically boost over and do a long boost jump, and there's a health upgrade for you. And there you go. Now I also added a map system. When you press start to pause the game, you can see the map show up, and the one that's blinking is the cell, the room that I'm currently in. As you can see, when the view shifts, that's the room that you're in shifts as well. It would look nicer if the grid was aligned. If the grid was more aligned to like the room's location, and I mean, like, it's a little annoying how like there's small spaces between the rooms, because that's the way I designed it. But that's okay. It's just kind of annoying. But yeah, it shows up. I added gates, which are these things. When you approach, they open. You step away, they close. Very Metroid-like. I decided like you don't really need to shoot them to get them to open. It doesn't really make sense to have that mechanic for it. It doesn't really. There's no real reason to do that. I don't really see the reason. It's just something to do, I guess, to get the door open. I'm thinking that you might have to like have keys or something to open the gate, like switches, to get them to turn red or to turn on, and then you can actually like pass in and out. But you don't need to do anything to open gates by default. They'll just basically be unlocked. And so you'll head over to the right, and this is kind of the hub village where you can talk to some NPCs and stuff, different areas to go to. I still have to work on some tiles to kind of make it look different, but this is the general kind of feel of the game world. Did I ever fix that? Okay, I don't think I did. I just remembered something about these platforms I need to fix, I think. Anyway, doors. Doors are implemented. They link one point to another, like so. You press down, go in the door, come out. Very simple. I still need to get the camera to not do that, where it like slides over, but instead just kind of snaps to the position that it should be on, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, it works. This is the sensor for this zone, which is like the elder, I don't know what you want to call it, the main guy that you're going to talk to. You know stuff. This is where your quest kind of begins in this game. You talk to this dude. He says basically, what's your name? You tell him, Epsilon 98, or EPS for short. He says, you remind us very much of Dr. Titus. Dr. Titus was the head of this robotics research facility. He was always creating something or other. We contain highly advanced artificial intelligence modules, but even we had some trouble keeping up with him sometimes. He was a joy to work with, but we haven't seen him in a few months since. Well, never mind that. What are you doing here, son? I don't know why you would say son, actually. I might change that dialogue. Yeah, you got a transmission from the doctor? No way. We mean, oh wow. What did he tell you? Your transmission cut out before you could finish. Well, we could try resuming the transmission from here. Ah, we forgot, it's not working. Something's jamming the relay dish. You see, the research facility is a fairly large place. We communicate between zones using wireless data transmission. The dish is the ticket to sending and receiving data transmissions. If something's interfering with the dish, we can't transmit. We'd hate to bother you, but do you think you could check it out? The dish is up on the roof of this building. We'll open the staircase for you. So this is the general idea. of course, there's nothing. He's not doing anything right now. But the idea is that he'll basically turn to face the console, try to do something, and say, "Oh yeah, it's not working. Relay dish is out. You know, it's busted. Can you go fix it?" He'll open the area on the roof, and then you'll head upstairs, either inside or outside. Probably inside, and that's where you'll get the first kind of first little area that you'll be kind of a self-contained dungeon, maybe just 5 or 6 rooms. You'll probably have a boss fight, and then you'll come back and talk to him, and then you'll kind of get the lowdown on a little bit more of the story, and then head on to the next zone. Probably through doors, or probably through doors. Might be, yeah, probably through doors. It's probably just the easiest way to do that. Okay, so that's the general kind of feel of what I have so far. Let me see if I'm missing anything. I think that's everything in this zone. So I'm going to show the other zone as well now. This is the communications and weapons testing zone. So I started doing the art and the kind of general game feel for this. And this one, like I said, it's bright day. So that one, it really matches. And it's basically set in kind of a desert facility. So there's going to be a lot of like I don't even know why I'm messing around with this. There's going to be a lot of like kind of uneven terrain and enemies that fire missiles and stuff. It's very hot and wavy, as you can see. So it just kind of has this feel of kind of oppressive, desert, dangerous, hot, hard kind of area. It doesn't really feel like a kind of second area, I guess you could say, but I think you'll be able to go to either of the other 2 zones, basically, more or less. You can kind of adventure around and find your way. It's going to be kind of interesting, because in order to beat the game, you'll need to defeat all of the bosses of each zone. 3 zones, 3 bosses, in addition to the hub zone. Now, each boss is going to have his own, in order to get to actually fight him, it's not going to be just like, to be a really good Metroidvania, I feel like you shouldn't be able to just kind of like walk into each zone and beat it. Like, you should have to explore a little bit. So in order to get to the end of this zone, you should require something that may or may not be in the zone. I mean, that's Metroid, that's what Metroid's all about, is exploring, going from place to place, using what you have to, traverse different areas and kind of solve how things work. I think what made Metroid really work well with that is because all of the zones were interlocked. So like you could go from one zone to another, and that was sometimes your reward was a shortcut to get from one zone to another zone and get to an inaccessible location. So like in my game, the hub is literally the game world's shaped like I guess you could say a spoken wheel, where the hub is in the center and then the other zones are going to be on the edges. This is kind of bad because unless I add other ways to get from zone to zone, it's kind of impossible to not have bad backtracking. I think bad backtracking is when like you go from place to place, you get an item, and then like for example, you go in this zone, you get an item, and there's literally nothing else for you to do in this zone. You go to the other zone, so you go back to the hub, you go to another zone, you use the item you got to traverse further into that zone, you get another item, and then you have to do it again with either the first zone or a third zone. And so you see the problem is you're doing a lot of backtracking, going back and forth. I want to avoid that. I want to avoid that kind of feeling of you're wasting my time as a player. So maybe this will be just like a non-linear platforming game where you can kind of just approach each zone as a separate like chunk of the game. But I think I still want to keep the Metroid-like feel of like using the leg parts, using the weapons, using each part to kind of traverse around and get where you need to go. So I want that feeling to remain, where you have to explore and find stuff. So I probably will end up doing something where I just have to kind of think it over a little bit more and design some really interesting kind of areas, not waste the player's time so much. Going back and forth is not too bad, I guess, but maybe I can make a teleportation system or something to just kind of make it a little easier for the player, where they don't feel like they're wasting time going back and forth. Just unless I can like really maximize the amount of content in each zone, that is blocked off by different items and stuff like that, where, you know, basically you get a new item, there's tons of stuff for you to find on the way back to the zone that actually has the item that you need to progress through this zone, you know? Like, even if you don't have everything for this zone, there's still stuff for you to do and find and, you know, interact with. And then you go to the other zone, and there's still stuff for you to do and find and interact with, and then you find the item that you need to beat this area. So I have to think about it. Not too much focus on the game flow so far, basically. Just focusing on the game world and the gameplay itself, the moment to moment, I guess you could say. And it's working pretty well. Looks pretty good. Feels pretty good. Sand tiles, not bad. Could use some work, but yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. Okay. Logos. I was working on. I was trying to basically get a logo together so I could kind of put it on my YouTube videos and stuff, because I want a preview image that's really nice and clear. I like this little logo I drew, which is obviously the game, you know, text, just the name Gearend, with like some sparse icon of F's in the G and on the end of the D. You know, that looks and feels really clean and crisp. I like that. I also was doing this drawing of F's kind of like in battle, which isn't bad, but it feels a little, I don't know, it feels a little much, I guess you could say. I like the simplicity of this, where it's like, you kind of click on this, not just because you know what the game, like you click on this because you know what the game's about. You click on this because it's interesting. On a basic level, it's simple, but it's interesting. And someone gave me some feedback that basically said the texture is kind of blocky, robotic, feel more like a, you know, I guess, you know, blocky and technological. I kind of agree with that. It looks kind of high tech, but just text at this moment. So I might want to do something to kind of sparse it up and make it feel more, you know, futuristic. But I feel like you click on this, like you see this in Greenlit Q, and it's like white background, black text, really clean, really simple, really crisp. You see pixel art, you know what you're getting. Even if you don't know what the game's about, you know what the kind of the feel of the game is. Very interesting, very different. Whereas this feels like you can't really easily make out what the game's about, or I mean, it's about this character, assumedly, and it's about combat, but it's like, it's not really all about combat. You do talk to characters. You are not a combat robot. It's not like a twin stick shooter or something, like an arena shooter where you just go around shooting people, or not shooting people, shooting robots. It's not about that. That's not really what the game's about. It's a storyline to it. So I think this feels more like something more representative of the game, I guess you could say. More something else, something different. I like it. So I'm gonna kind of keep refining this idea and work on it. Maybe this will be the logo I go with for now, and then come back and kind of tweak it and fix it up later. All right. Well, that's basically all of the stuff I've been working on, including some music, but that's just, I'm gonna have to show that later. Thank you very much for watching. I've been SolarLune, and this has been a Gearend development log video. Thanks. See ya. Oh, yeah, if you've been watching these videos, thanks a lot, by the way. It's always really interesting to see people's feedback, and to you know, especially try to improve the game based on that information. You know, I think game developers might get sidetracked sometimes, or think that it's like, well, you know, I get feedback, so now I have to implement it, or I get feedback and that's not the direction that I want the game to go in. You know, you don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. Any feedback is good feedback. Even if you don't use it, it's still good to hear what other people think. You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's not so much about whether you use it, it's just simply getting that feedback is helpful, because as a creator, that allows you to think on other people's viewpoints. So it's just useful to hear. So thank you very much for your feedback. Game's really shaping up, and yeah, hopefully I'll have it done in a couple of months. All right, thanks for watching. See ya.